Right, well these days lots of people opt for early retirement, but for Sid Thomas it was part of his master plan. Carry on, Meg. He was a copper on the beat in Birmingham and he dreamt of becoming a smallholder. Now, when the opportunity came along, he took his pension and ran off to the hills with his wife Joan. Now, Sid and Joan try to be as self-sufficient as they can on their 1 acre plot high in the Shropshire hills. Their tiny cottage is about as far from a city as you can get, but our man Alan Jones, the bloodhound, tracked them down.
Sometimes a policeman's lot is not a happy one, particularly when there's a mess like the Birmingham pub bombings to clear up. Sid Thomas was on duty when it happened. It's a way of life he dearly wanted to leave behind. So he took early retirement and settled for a new beat on a small holding 1,000 feet up in the Shropshire hills, about as far away from the city as you can get. These days, Sid and Joan spend their days providing their own food from a single steep acre. It's a new philosophy for life, being absorbed into a tiny community where they can practice self-sufficiency. The only sharp words you have to hand out these days are to the livestock.
Now you buzz off. I'm not known you come.
A fine way to talk to a family provider, and a lady at that. Still, we're all here to make the small holding a success. And inside there's Joan, busy baking the bread. Lovely, crunchy wholemeal loaves hot from the oven. Just the thing to go with homemade goat's cheese. And all washed down with gooseberry wine. What a way to toast your new successful lifestyle.
We've got a nice garden here. We grow a lot of soft fruit, strawberries, blackcurrants, redcurrants, all that sort of thing. We've got a greenhouse, we grow our own tomatoes. We've got poultry, free-range poultry. We've got the goats, and we make cheese out of the goat's milk as well. We keep ducks, egg-laying ducks. And occasionally when we have billy kids born, we have them butchered out and we get goat's meat. So, you know, you do produce quite a lot of your own food and cut your living costs very considerably.
When you were a policeman, was the idea of retiring to a life like this fermenting in your mind?
Oh, Lord, yes. Oh, yes.
But who's kidding who? Change from policeman to smallholder? Is it that easy?
It all boils down to two things. One is you need to know quite a lot about it, because otherwise you can come unstuck and lose a lot of money and get disappointed. And secondly, you must have either a cash income of some sort, either a pension or, you know, private means, or a part-time or lowly, even poorly paid job. You must have a cash income as well.
Why do so many people who try this sort of life fail?
Well, I think, as I say, a lot of it is knowledge. There is a terrific amount to learn, you know. I mean, you see, anybody coming from the town, they buy hens, and they're quite expensive. And if you don't know how to look after them, they don't lay well, and they die, and they get all sorts of different diseases and things like this. And then you've lost your money and you don't get any eggs. The same thing with the goats. You can have goats, and if you don't look after them, I mean, this one goat of mine here is doing 10 pints a day. But that's because, you know, I've been used to it all my life, and I know how to feed her and handle her and everything else. If somebody else had her, she probably wouldn't do anywhere near as well, you see.
A man's life it is, handling this livestock. They can be a bit old-fashioned, you know, these country folk. The men working there outside in the fields, and her indoors, well, indoors.
I admit I don't do an awful lot outside except the flower bed. But indoors, of course, I'm very fond of baking. And I do take in a few guests, bed, breakfast and evening meal, because you see, we're only 100 yards from Offa's Dyke, you see. So that keeps me quite busy. I make my own preserves, my own pickles, my own bread. As you see, I've been making goat's cheese here this morning.
I'm told you're quite good as well.
Oh, well, you shall try a little later on. Somebody got in before you, as you can see. It goes before you can hardly get it finished.
With such an accomplished little woman in the kitchen, you get the impression they'd survive almost anywhere. But every so often, Joan makes off back to Birmingham to see her family, leaving Sid alone to practice those newly found self-sufficiency skills. But she does worry, you know.
It means I'm leaving Sid to look after himself, you see. He's not awfully good at it.
What advice would you give to other people who are perhaps thinking of doing the same sort of thing?
Oh, you've got to be I think very sure that this is what you want. I don't think you mustn't think, oh, I've seen that on television or something, oh, wouldn't that be marvellous? Or you go away for a week and you come to a place like this, you think, oh, I'd love to live there, wouldn't it be marvellous? But you see, it's not marvellous all the time. Sometimes it snows and sometimes it rains and, oh, I don't know. I don't ever get depressed, but it wouldn't suit everybody.
What I like about these people is that every enterprise, as you might say, that they do, they make it pay for itself. I mean, like they can't grow wheat on this tiny bit of land, so they have to buy flour. But she sells enough cakes and things that she bakes with the flour at the Women's Institute to pay for the flour. So, and plus what they use, so they get their bread free. And everything that they have to buy, which isn't an awful lot, they get free, like that.
So life out here seems to be economically pretty sound. But does he find it more spiritually rewarding than life as a policeman?
Yes, I do, because, you know, you just know everybody in the district. Everybody's sort of interested in your concerns and you're interested in them. Well, you don't get concerned like that in a city, you know. Everybody is more or less a big family out here.
So nothing would tempt you back to the city now?
Oh, nothing. Absolutely nothing. No. No. That's out. No.
Nobody means, but how many of you are brave enough to do that?